Hello and welcome. I am Ryan with Apostate Coalition News. Today we are sitting down with Stephen Lett, member of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, for a discussion on what they consider will be a new world order here on earth. Thank you for joining us today, Stephen.
It is my great pleasure.
Excellent. Let's get right into it, shall we? Stephen, the Jehovah's Witnesses purport that soon God will be wiping out the landscape as we know it for what you call will be a new system of things. Can you tell me more about that?
Many people in Satan's world, as you know, believe that God will accept them as they are, that God, in effect, will lower his standard to accommodate them. Can you imagine such pride?
Let's say I'm not a follower of your religion. What's your opinion of me?
Those who wickedly set their own moral standards will receive no peace from Jehovah and will not have peaceful lives.
But you're suggesting that those who aren't followers of your religion lack peace in their lives, and I can personally attest to you that that's not true whatsoever, but I'll digress. Can you give me an example of what you expect to happen to these people like me?
They had their garments ripped off of them. They were beaten many blows with rods. They were thrown into the inner prison. Their feet were fastened in stocks.
What you're describing is pretty graphic. What about children? They're still developing and their cognitive abilities may not be able to understand all the teachings in your literature. What will happen to them?
Now, if we think about it, we're not born as friends of God because we're born as sinful offspring of Adam. Actually, if we think about it, we're born as enemies of God. Sometimes you'll hear people say of a little baby, "Look at that little angel." But more accurate would be to say, "Look at that little enemy of God."
Stephen, you have to understand how this sounds to parents across the globe. We're talking about children here. Children of all ages are responsible for their knowledge of your particular beliefs and practices. Coupled with that, they're not allowed to even speak up about how they're treated or atrocities that are happening around the world.
The problems of this world cannot be corrected. It would be futile to spend our time and energy trying to correct what Jehovah tells us cannot be corrected.
What sounds futile is setting people up for failure, not allowing them to have a voice.
We must be careful not to allow the media of this world to manipulate our thinking. News broadcasts are often presented in a biased, opinionated way. So we've got to be careful not to adopt the bias of a commentator.
I've watched some of your other videos and I get the impression you don't want your members watching the news for fear of hearing stories that relate to issues going on inside of your organization.
Remember that defending Jehovah's name and reputation is far more important than trying to defend our own name and reputation. Be willing to suffer loss rather than disturb the peace in the congregation.
Stephen, I have to be blunt. What you're saying does not sound like it will give people peace, reassurance, or help. It sounds like you're leading sheep to a slaughter.
Doing so will require that you remain strictly neutral regarding the world's political affairs and other controversies.
I feel like we've reached the end of this conversation. I do appreciate your sitting down with us. And
how we delight in talking about our marvelous Heavenly Father.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. I am Ryan. This has been Apostate Coalition News, educating you on the dangers of high control religion. Thank you. We'll see you soon.